Daniel phoned her best friend Karen. Morning, Karen. Good day for sailing. Do you fancy it? I'm up for it, said Karen. What time? I'll meet you at the sailing club at 10. Oh, bring a sandwich and a drink. We could make a day of it. If the wind stays, we could go out of the harbour. The two youngsters were experienced sailors. They had been schooled by their parents from when they were toddlers. Their sails were soon rigged on the small boat, and on it went down the harbour. The gentle westerly wind picked up the craft and propelled it through the little waves, chomping them if so it was biting its way along. They sailed past familiar marks, Channel buoys, then the ferry that crossed the harbour mouth. OK for going on out then, Karen, shouted Danielle. Yeah, go for it. Go for it, Danny, came the reply. They were soon out into the open sea and following the beach to their starboard side. They could see the Palmerston Forts, the pier and the Isle of Wight in the distance. Bearing down towards them was what looked like a patch of mist. It was thick enough that you could not see through it. It soon engulfed them, and as it did so the wind dropped. Completely still, leaving them becalmed in this thick mist. They could only see a boat's length in any direction. I was not expecting this, said Danielle. I should have tried to go round it. Karen replied while rummaging about under the side seats. We're here now, so we'll just have to paddle out of it. She passed the paddle to Danielle and the pair started paddling. Do you hear someone calling? Said Karen. Yeah, from that direction, Daniel said, pointing in the direction they were already heading. Through the mist, a small sailing boat appeared with two people aboard, a boy of about 12 and an older girl. They were dressed in what looked like mock sailor outfits, something you would see in, say, a pantomime or a show perhaps. Get these two, said Karen. How's about that boat then, Daniel said. It's solid wood with copper rivets and all varnished. Quite does look good, doesn't it? We are lost, said the girl. We don't know where the beach is. Can you help? I think so, said Danielle replied. Have you got paddles? No, the boy said. Out in a sailing boat with 8 paddles. The girls manoeuvred their boat to the bow of the timber boat, and Karen took hold of the painter rope that was hanging in the water. She passed it to Danielle, who secured it to the stern of their boat. They then agreed that the beach must be to the starboard, as they had not changed direction since coming out of the harbour. We will go 15 minutes in that direction. If we do not find shore in that time, we will turn round and go 30 minutes in the other. If that doesn't work, I'll phone Dad and he'll come and get us in his rib. Within a short time, Karen shouted, I can see the bottom. She jumped over the side and pulled the boat onto the shore. Meanwhile, Danielle put a hand out to steady the following boat from bumping the stern of their boat. But too late, it hit their stern, taking a chip out of the wood. Very nice varnished bow. The two ladies pulled the youngster's boat up onto the shingle. There you are, said Danielle. Sorry about the bump. Are you all right? Yes, came the reply, thank you. We do not live far away from here. I will walk home and get Peter to bring the staff down and collect the boat. Karen and Dan looked at each other. In unison they both said, Peter? Staff? Woo! The young man turned to Danielle and offered her his hand. She took it. As she did so, he said, My name is Peter, and this is my sister Grace. We are very grateful for your help, and we would like to invite you both to our house for tea. Daniel replied. Thank you, but we do need to go home. Peter replied, then please feel free to call any time you wish. We live at number 15 Helen Road. Karen said, may I take a picture of your boat? I've not seen anything like that before, and my dad would love to see it. He's very clever with his hands. Grace was standing nearby with a questioning look on her face. How can you take a picture? You don't have a camera. I will use my phone, Karen replied, holding her phone out in the palm of her hand. Grace said, tipping her head to one side and frowning, that is a phone? And a camera? I've never seen a phone with 8 wires, or a camera that small. Where have you been living? Karen said, while waving to them to stand together behind the boat and snapping quickly, as modern young people do, with their phones. Now we must go. We have a long paddle back to the sailing club. We must go too. Meta and Peter would be worried, Peter said, as the two of them walked away up the beach and disappeared into the mist. Danielle and Karen slid their boat into the deeper water, climbed aboard and paddled along the beach in the direction of the harbour. They all paddled a short way when the mist began to clear and a light breeze picked up. Looking back, the mist had completely gone and there was no sign of the small wooden boat on the beach. Karen said in a questioning tone, they were a couple of strange uns, weren't they? They certainly were, said Danielle, as she steered the boat to pick up the breeze. Some weeks passed when the two young ladies found themselves riding their bikes out to the seafront. As they passed the end of Helen Road, without hesitation the two of them turned into the road. Karen started counting. Number 19, 17, 15. Here it is, number 15. Shall we knock the door? Just then a lady appeared from behind the hedge. She was wearing gardening gloves and holding a pair of hedge shears. Can I help you? She said. Does Peter and Grace live here? Said Karen. Did you know Peter and Grace? The lady replied. Karen said, well, sort of. We met them once while they were out sailing. Out sailing? Came the reply. You'd better come in. They took their bikes into the garden, leaned them against the hedge, and followed the lady inside. Daniel whispered to Karen, she looks like their mum. Would you like a cup of tea? I'm having one, the lady said. Yes, please, the two said together. 2 sugars and milk. Sit yourself down, the lady said. Thank you, they both said as they sat down. The lady placed the tea in front of them and said, how did you know my Peter and Grace? Daniel then said, we helped them once with their boat. Here, we have a photo on my phone, she said, passing the phone to the lady. The lady took the phone and looked at the picture. The colour drained from her face. Where did you get this? They only look about 12, 14. That would make it 1930-ish. I've never seen any picture of them that early. Karen interrupted. I took it just 3 weeks ago. You could not have. Let me explain, the lady said. My name is Grace, named after my mother Grace. I was an only illegitimate child brought up by my mother and her brother Peter. 2 you met out sailing. My mother and her brother were children of wealthy parents. They were an inseparable brother and sister that loved sailing. The family had a small wooden boat just like the one in your picture. It is still in the garden and is beyond repair. The thing is, they died within weeks of each other, about a month ago, at a good old age of 94 and 96. So you see, this can't have been them. It looks like them, but the picture is in colour. "I tell you what," said Karen. "Look at the picture. There's a chip taken out of the bow when their boat hit ours. Let's look at the boat in the garden." They all went out into the garden. There, plain to see, was the exact chip out of the bow. They went back into the kitchen in silence and sat down. Karen stood up. "Do you know what I think happened? We sailed into their dream."